Hi there, welcome to Modern Firm Practices Show. I'm Brad Turville, and this week we're going to look at partner time and where is your time going as a sole practitioner or as a partner. So there's some certain things that you want to achieve, there's some certain objectives, or there's some certain problems that you want to solve. The core of fixing a lot of them actually comes down to freeing up partner time or freeing up your time as a director or as a sole practitioner. So your time is being spent on the wrong things, and there's no rule set in stone that partners, they have to be the most technical person, have the most technical tax expertise, they have to be the rainmaker, they have to be some digital marketing guru, they need to be the best people person ever. They're not rules. But you see a lot of firms that the partners tend to be either a technical person or a rainmaker or a little bit of both. You can choose your own adventure. And we're going to be looking at a few things and I'll be discussing a few things today. So in a partnership, you might want to consider more of a corporate model that will allow that. And if you're a sole practitioner, well, you might want to build a firm that is less reliant on you. It might not even be reliant on you. So what does this mean? Well, we're looking at freeing up your time. It starts with delegating, handing over client relationships, especially handing over new clients that come on board straight into your client manager, putting boundaries in around your time, blocking out your calendar. Many small firms might need to hire a client manager, and that's to allow the handover of relationships and also to manage things like some team under them, manage generally the compliance that's under them. A lot of firms have too many accountants doing too much admin. So there's also a performance and an average hourly rate conversation there, but also the time that is required to go into it could be better resourced elsewhere. Fast-growing firms might need a marketing coordinator. Some may actually benefit from a salesperson. Maybe you need to bring on a couple of outsourced team members as your next best step to free up time. Or you might need to hire someone for 6 months to come in and build out systems and processes in your firm. I just made that recommendation to a firm that were really struggling with it, but it is the next thing that they need to do. So to increase your average client group fee, you need to be getting out there, even if it's virtually, speaking with clients, speaking with strategic partners, opening new relationships, opening new channels, only working on the high value work, leading and inspiring your team, running educational webinars, running workshops, and running trainings. So I want you to spend 2 weeks, if you think you've got some time to free up, and I'm going to challenge you that you do, and if you think you're pretty good, I'll still challenge you that there's probably even more there. Spend 2 weeks tracking your time, okay? It's not going to be the most exciting exercise. I'm not going to pretend it is. Set your phone to go off every 30 minutes and jot down what you've been working on. I'm confident that the emails and the time in your inbox will be staggering. You'll be shocked where it all goes. Now, once you've made that list, I want you to summarize it. And then I want you to put a line through anything that doesn't directly contribute to you achieving your objectives. This is based on the premise that you actually have documented your objectives. So if you haven't done that, that's step 1. This would be step 2. Once you put a line through all the things that aren't directly playing into your objectives and helping you achieve them, you're going to have a very short list. That's the 80-20. And as a mentor of mine taught me that it might be the 80-20 of the 80-20. So a couple more places I want to run here. If you're a small firm and you don't have the cash or the time or the leverage to action this ruthlessly, I suggest you look at a couple of different paths to tackle it. One is to find the resources that you can access now. Okay, because your problem is a resource deficiency. You don't have heaps of cash, you don't have heaps of time, you're juggling a lot of balls, you're wearing a lot of hats. Find other people that have the resources, because a lot of others tend to be under-resourced. They're not making the most of those resources. So whether that's access to capital, whether it's access to the delivery of work, the resourcing of work, it could be marketing. I gave some advice to an accountant a couple of weeks ago, and he's in a small firm and he needs some help with marketing, but he's actually got a client who's a marketer that needs accounting, but they're only in the early stages. They don't have money coming out of their ears to heavily invest in one another. And I said, just do a contra. You can do their accounting work, they can do your marketing work. No, there needs to be no exchange of cash, but it's a contra. Bang, that was an easy conversation and that was underway. It solved both their problems. So someone's got, it's like trash and treasure, right? I don't know if that's just an Australian thing or not, but trash and treasure basically says someone's trash is someone else's treasure. And the same sort of concept can be applied here. Some people have got certain things that if you could get access to and you could use it, or you could somehow look to acquire it, or you could negotiate certain terms, it would be a treasure for you. You might look at it could be getting some office space or some more professional space or access to a fancy boardroom, but you don't need the office in the city with all the overheads and everything. But there might be certain firms in the city that have just got truckloads of office space and have got real fancy boardrooms, but they don't have it booked 24/7. As a small firm, you need to be a bit of a hustler. You need to, as Sam Walton talks about in his great book, which you should read, which is called Made in America. He talks about when you're getting started and you're small, you need to be a scrappy promoter, is what he called them. You just need to be out there and hustling and scrappy promoter. Then you get to a point where you need to go from a scrappy promoter into an operator. And that's quite a different shift on a number of levels, from people through to systems, through to management, through to policies, and so on and so forth. But at the start, you're just looking to put things together. So who has got the resources that you could look to utilize that would give you some leverage? The second pathway here is that you burn the midnight oil, and but only burn the midnight oil on what will get you to the point where you then can hire that person or access the resource. Okay, so if you think to yourself, well, if I had that resource today, I could just put them in and that would allow me to focus on the things that help me achieve the objectives that I want. Well, you might have to have an objective before that, because you can't do it right now. And the objective before it might be, I need to get to this point to then hire a client manager, or get to this point to hire a marketer. And then once that's in place, I can now delegate all these things to them, and now I can play into these objectives. So you might need to recheck your short-term and your medium-term objectives, and look at, is there actually something I need to do before all of that will allow me to play into this, or something that will allow me to do it quicker or easier or a bit more smoothly. In this second point, you need to focus on making the boat go faster, not just maintaining the boat. Then you slot in the right people. So, a couple of finishing points here to get you thinking. Just because you've run things a certain way for a long time, or just because everyone else in the industry does it a certain way, or just because when you speak to your peers, they're doing it a certain way, or if you work in a family business, just because there might be family members that currently own the firm and they do it a certain way and they say this is the way to do it, doesn't mean it's the only way. Okay, it's never just the only way. There's always a different way to look at things and do things, and different vantage points and different perspectives and so on. And so just because others are doing it doesn't mean there isn't a better way. And just because peers and professional bodies and the media are saying that this is what a partner in a firm looks like, or a partner needs to be hitting these amount of billables, or a partner this or a partner that, that's just their opinion. And everyone's got an opinion, and your opinion might be, well, I'm going to build a firm where along the journey, I'm going to remove the reliance on myself. Or I just, in my firm, just want to do marketing. I'm good at it. I get the results from it. I hate doing tax. I just want to focus on doing that, and I'll just hire great people to do the other things. I'll put some strategic partnerships in place where they can deliver the missing parts, and I can just double down and focus on what I want and what I love doing. So the whole, just because we run things this way, you can throw it out of the window. That's just, you're just already trying to make an excuse to not look at things a different way. I would suggest you try and entertain different ideas, even if you don't decide to pursue them. Just be a bit open-minded and entertain different ideas, and look at, I think a great advantage that accountants have is, that a lot of other industries don't get, is you get to look at lots of industries, because you've got lots of different clients in lots of different industries. And they might be small or medium business size clients, or they might even just be individuals that work in different industries. And when you have a chat to them, you're able to learn a lot about what different industries are doing. How do they attract clients? What products do they deliver? What markets do they work in? How do they structure their teams? How do they design strategic partnerships? What are some of their marketing activities? How do they run their strategy and their planning days? I could go on for an hour here, but you're able to learn different ideas from different industries, and the question can then be, I wonder whether I could do that, okay? Or what is stopping an accounting firm or an accountant running with that idea in our industry? And just because no one's done it before, hey, who cares? So look to be open-minded and look to learn from others. And just because no one else is doing it, that might actually be a good reason to do it, because the accounting industry is a sea of sameness. That gives you a great opportunity to stand out. If everyone looks the same, you don't have to do that much to really stand out. So keep open-minded. Last point here is something called sunk cost fallacy. Okay, and that's not making a decision or slow to make an investment or a decision just because you've invested a lot of time in it and you feel that you haven't got the value from it. Okay, to talk Cantonese for a moment, you might feel you haven't fully depreciated it, so you just don't want to throw it away because there's still value. But it's a sunk cost. You've invested in it, but it's now not going to contribute to your objectives. You might as well just set it aside. Hey, even if there's some intangible depreciation left on it, don't get hung up on it. And that comes down to making some different decisions. And I'm tying this all back to your time. Okay, so just because you've done things a certain way and this is how you've worked as a partner a certain way, you might have been a partner in a firm for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Doesn't mean you can't change tomorrow. It's completely a choice. You just need to be open to the idea. Just because you've invested in certain things that have set you up a certain way doesn't mean you can't change tomorrow. I've seen firms bundle up a whole lot of their clients and sell them to the accountant down the road because they're not going to serve them to get them to the level that they want to get to. Yes, they've invested to get to the point where they are now, but they've realized where they are now is actually not where they want it to be. And they've only realized that by getting to this situation. So another example of sunk cost fallacy, just so I can get the point across here, is let's say I buy this shirt, okay? And let's say I've never worn it. And I buy it and it looks great, and it looks great on the model in the shop, and I might spend $300 on it, and I haven't worn it, and I then pull it out one day to wear it, and it doesn't fit right, it's too tight, it doesn't sit. I just look and feel stupid in it. And I then put it back in the wardrobe, but I don't throw it out because I might shed a few kilos and fit into it one day, or I might build a bit more or muscle or tone up a bit or whatever the thing is, or I might cut my hair short or something, or I might stop wearing ties and then it would sit better. Doesn't matter what it is, but it's not serving you right now. So you don't chuck it out, or you don't go and donate it somewhere because you've invested in it. I've invested $300. It's not just a cheap shirt. There's an intrinsic value. There's a sunk cost fallacy. And so part of me says I'll put it back into the wardrobe. But if I truly stood there and went, am I ever going to wear this? Am I just a little bit, miffed that I've invested in it and maybe that was a stupid decision, or maybe it just hasn't worked out and I don't want to wear that. I would rather just go, maybe one day. The best thing would be to just go and contribute it to someone, because you're never going to like it. You're never going to fit into it. You're never going to feel good in it. And then it's going to sit there for a long time. And then you'll finally realize, you know what, it's been in my closet for 10 years. I'm never going to wear this thing. I could have thrown it out on day one. That's sunk cost fallacy. But the same thing applies in business. You invest in team members, you invest in a premises, you build a big client base, you invest in your own knowledge, you invest in all of these assets on the balance sheet and not on the balance sheet that you see a value in. And now if you want to get to a certain point that involves change, then you might feel some resistance from this sunk cost fallacy. So I'm just bringing that to your attention so you're not unconsciously incompetent. You're now aware that, okay, that's why I'm feeling like we've done things a certain way, and that's why I'm resistant to change or delegating or hiring a team member, or I've invested in these things and I just don't want to push it aside because I might be able to milk a little bit out of it one day, as opposed to call that the 2%, putting the 2% aside that opens up this 98% opportunity. That's the opportunity cost that's there. So do yourself a favor, audit your time, compare it to your objectives, then remove and delegate and double down on the most effective tasks for you, which might be sales and marketing, business development type tasks, high value work, and leading and inspiring your team. I hope you took a few ideas from this Modern Firm Practices show. The takeaway for you is to go and do a little bit of a time audit and see the opportunity there. Then you just need to make the decision. But keep in mind the, hey, we've always done it this way, or everyone does it this way, or sunk cost fallacy. Okay, play that test, and then that might open and have an open mind into where you can make some changes that are going to help you get ahead. Until next week, I'm Brad Turville, and this has been the Modern Firm Practices show.